Thanks for get an opportunity to do this very often, so being incredibly comfortable with introducing speakers is kind of tough because we don't get folks up this way. You don't accidentally come to Reedsburg, Wisconsin. You don't just pass through unless you're going to Canada or something, I guess. But otherwise, we're certainly blessed and grateful to have Brother Tony and Sister Coretta with us. They came up on Wednesday and got a chance to kind of hang out with us for a little while and see some of the areas. Unfortunately, our nice warm weather got a little colder, so it wasn't real nice to get outside and walk around a whole lot. But I know I've been on the other side of where Brother Tony's sitting this morning when we first got here, and we would go to churches and share about what God was doing in Wisconsin. And it never failed that the person that would introduce you would typically try to tell something funny or embarrassing or whatever on that person. I have nothing on Brother Tony, and it's not. I'm sure if I dig a little, I could probably, but I chose not to. Yeah, but what I do know of Brother Tony is he has a heart for God first and foremost, but he has a heart for people as well. And we were blessed. Our family was blessed. Brother Tony's dad, Brother Tom, was instrumental in seeing Cornerstone get established up in this area. Brother Tom was a pastor in Michigan, didn't know us from anybody, but he set up an entire deputation trip for us through the whole state of Michigan, of which every single church came on board. And I don't think it was because of the work we shared, it was because Brother Tom told them to. That was kind of like, he kind of kindly suggested. But Brother Tom was an amazing gentleman in the work, and I got a chance to meet Brother Tony shortly thereafter and recognize how much of that was poured into you as well. And so we are certainly grateful to have Brother Tony and Sister Coretta with us. They're going to share with us a little bit about Ukraine and then preach the message. Brother Tony, I'll let you go until you're done, man. So, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Good to be here this morning. I think I'm on. He's got me. Y'all hear me all right? Yeah. Thank you for the introduction. I'll put a check in the mail to make sure you didn't mention any of those things. I've been in ministry since my mid-20s. I pastored churches in Arkansas, Indiana, one in Ohio. I had settled in to southern Indiana and decided that was where the Lord was going to keep me until I either died or he came back. And the Lord had different plans and brought some people into our lives and stirred our hearts for the country of Ukraine. We took a trip over a year ago in October and spent 2 weeks. And I'll tell you some stories about that trip. We came back and prayed about this long and hard and tried to put it away. And the Lord kept bringing it back. The folks had asked us to come back again in July. And we said we would. But last of May, 1st of June, I said the Lord will go. And I resigned the congregation I was pastoring. We joined our sending church, Columbus Baptist Church. Pastor Charles Kennedy is pastor. The 14th of August. Meantime, we sold and gave away most everything we had. Been married 37 years this month. And when we got through, everything we had left fit in an 8-foot by 20-foot trailer with space left over. That's an accomplishment in itself. Okay? We began traveling and sharing with churches what the Lord had burdened our hearts with. Asked for their prayers and their consideration. We did 10,000 miles between the middle of August and the end of the year. The Lord has blessed us. We're almost 50% of what our need is for monthly support once we move to the field. We've been doing this about 7 months. Everybody tells me that's not average, and I said I've never been average in my whole life. And my God's not average. This is his plan. We're just taking steps to follow his direction. If you have questions afterward, I'll be glad to answer them. Sometimes I take a few now, but I like to preach too, so I might take a couple. But I want to show you some few things about this and see if I can get this. There. Technology is wonderful. This is a country of Ukraine. I'll give you your first lesson. I learned this very early. You notice there's not a "the" there? It sounds right to say I'm going to the Ukraine. It flows very smooth. And I said it that way so many times, and then I got an education on it, and Ukrainian says, don't put a "the" there. It doesn't belong there. If you were going to Ireland, would you say I'm going to the Ireland? Well, no. Or to the Germany? No. So there's lots of Ukrainians in the States. I spoke with a lady that worked with them. I can't find her right now. There you are. There are lots in the States, aren't there? Okay. And when you meet one tomorrow, you can say we had a missionary come to our church, and he's going to Ukraine, and you don't put a "the" there, and they're going to be very impressed because you know how to say it. Okay? The country of Ukraine is about the size of the state of Texas as far as land mass. People want to know where it's at in the world. This gives you an idea. There's Russia here. You've got Belarus and Poland, Slovakia and Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Moldova. South and a little bit west of here, you're going to find Israel. Promised land is there. Okay, that kind of sets it where it is in the world for you. Most of their resources are over on the eastern part of the country. Industry, oils, minerals, things like that. That's where most of the unrest is going on. Russia does not occupy that part of the country, but Putin does control the rebels and kind of direct them there. This peninsula down here, this is Crimea that you hear in the news. You see why they want it, because it's only attached here. And it's a good port right up in here to Russia for imports and exports. Okay? That is occupied by Russia. Okay? If you ask a Ukrainian that, they're going to tell you no, but it is occupied by Russia. Okay? We're going to be working in this city here called Zhytomyr. The capital city is Kyiv. From where we're at here, it's a mixture of agriculture and industrial. Further west, it's almost all agricultural. We have works in Romania, some work going on in Moldova, Bulgaria. There's some works in Belarus. Okay, but in Ukraine, very, very little. Our friends the Bostics have been there 9 years. They have a small congregation, and there's another couple that's working in the area out from there. But that's about all. Okay, and so the Black Sea down here is really important, because when I tell you when we're going to move over, we're not like most missionaries. We can take our belongings, put it in a container, ship it over, because it's going to have to come here to Odessa on the Black Sea and then ship it all the way up to here. It's going to be very, very costly. Okay, so I think that gives you much about that page there. It's a beautiful country. Okay, their winters are colder than y'all's. Their winter's about like southern Canada, but they have seasons just like we do. They have a warm growing season. They have really cold winters. It's not uncommon to get 1.5 feet of snow in one snow. Okay, so a few weeks back it was 35 degrees, and our friend said, "Well, that's really good." I said, "35?" And she said, "Yeah." She said, "That's the first time in 3 weeks it's been out of single digits." So okay, so. Is it going to work for me? I'm doing it wrong, Brother Sonny. There it goes. Didn't tap it good. 2 things I want you to see about this. If I get in your way, just tell me move. I want you to see the population, and then I want you to see the religious breakup for this country. The country is almost 43 million. That number has increased from there. The capital city of Kyiv is almost 3 million people. Kyiv is a you've been there, that's a modern city. You can get most anything there that you can get in any major U.S. city here. Okay, the city we're going to work in is Zhytomyr, and it's getting close to 300,000 people there. The thing about it, in a city the size of 300,000, they got one McDonald's. Yeah, one McDonald's.
And no Starbucks.
Pardon?
No Starbucks.
No Starbucks. Now, if you go to Kyiv, you can get just about anything. But if you go to Zhytomyr is a mixture of like 1950s and 2017 technology, okay? You might see old cars. You might see people driving new cars, people riding bikes or walking by public transit. You might see a tractor run down the middle of the street, okay? All of it included. In this city, though, there's one McDonald's, and I had people say, "How many Arby's?" I said, "One McDonald's." "How many Wendy's?" I said, "One McDonald's." You get the idea, one McDonald's. There are some sit-down restaurants. In this city, though, A lot of Ukrainians are poor. Not all of them, but there are a lot of them. There's a growing upper middle class and there is an elite class. In this city, though, that there is a large mall that's there. If you have the money, you can go there and you can buy packaged products just like you and I buy in our Kroger's or JC's or Walmart or whatever. A lot of people here either won't because they don't have the money, or they don't know what's in it, who made it, where it came from. Okay, there is a growing upper middle class that's going to buy here, though. Okay, so Ukraine is mostly a cash society. A couple of reasons being, if I have cash, if I don't have the cash, I'm not going to buy it. And if I pay cash for it, that stops the paper trail right there. You see, Ukraine used to be a Soviet bloc country. And so some Soviet mentality still carries over. They don't want to be noticed, and they don't want anybody knowing any more about what's going on with them than absolutely necessary. You know, if we buy something online, there's going to be a trail, isn't there? Use your credit card, there's going to be a trail. You buy it on time, there's going to be a trail. If I pay cash, we're done. Okay? So that's kind of where we're looking at here. Okay? The breakdown for the religion, 68.5% is going to be Christian or Eastern Orthodox. And people say, what's that? It's very similar to Catholic. They will immerse their infants. They don't answer to the Pope or the Vatican, but everything else is just almost identical. Okay? The problem with this is, this religion, they're very regimented. If you step away from it, they get very militant. Okay? Very, very militant. To the point that if you step away from it, you're not allowed to be buried in the family cemetery. You could be disinherited. You could be ostracized. You could be blacklisted. You could lose your job if you make a public testimony. If we share our faith and the Ukrainian accepts Christ as Savior, submits to scriptural baptism, and joins the congregation, persecution is very real for them. Not death or imprisonment, but just about anything else that's there. The family can say, it's very similar to Amish. They can say, you're dead. You don't exist anymore. You don't come to Thanksgiving. You're not welcome at Christmas. We're not going to be there for your birthday. Okay, you're done. Yet there are Ukrainians making those steps. Okay. One problem with Sonny is the Ukrainian priest teach the people that when they join the Orthodox Church, when they are baptized, he tells them this pushes Satan out and allows God in. So when that person truly accepts Christ as Savior and makes a public testimony of baptism, the priest will tell everybody, you have done reverse the process. You've pushed God out and allowed Satan in, and you're cursed. Yeah. So if they're cursed, that's going to have a lot of effect on how their family views them. So it's really tough. Okay. Yet they're accepting Christ as Savior. Okay. What breaks our heart, though, 68.5%. If you'll notice our display out there, there's a picture that's got steps to nowhere. I told somebody that reminds us that the majority of these people live in this country, their religion steps to nowhere. Steps to nowhere. Okay? It says I got an error here, brother.
Yeah, that's not going to work. I'll do it.
All right, thank you. Everyone wants to know about the language. 65% Ukrainian, 33% are going to speak Russian, and a small amount are going to speak something else. Again, the reason is, this country was a Soviet bloc country at one time. So an older generation is going to speak Russian. Those further to the east are going to be more Russian speakers, more Russian influence. By the way, the majority of the country do not want ties to Russia. They want ties to the West. Because there's a more fair market price for things, the freedom that's there. Ukraine has been called a breadbasket of that area of the world. There have been a lot of countries that wanted to control it, not occupy it, but control it because of the resources that are there. Most of the country, though, is going to speak Ukrainian. They have their own government. It's closer to ours. They have their own currency, their own language, education, infrastructure. They won their independence, and they're very, very strong about it. The problem being, though, the Bostiks, our friends over there, They learn some Russian and some Ukrainian, but the problem is some Ukrainians will speak Ukrainian and Russian in the same conversation. So if I'm following them along and I got the Ukrainian, then they switch to Russian, and they switch back to Ukrainian. So that'll be a challenge to follow, okay? I'm trying to learn to speak the language because my goal is to be in public. These people are very, very private about personal matters, particularly religious matters. That's Eastern European by itself. You can't go up and knock on the door and say, hey, I'm Tony Hansen here from America to tell you about Jesus. It's not going to happen, okay? If you walk through the gate in their yard, that's like walking in your front door without an invitation. So our goal is to make relationships with these people. They have trust issues, and that's some holdover from Russian days, okay? If they don't know you, they're not going to speak to you. They're not going to look in the eye because I don't want to be noticed. I don't want to be singled out. And if I don't know you, I automatically don't trust you. It's not that you've done something to cause me to trust you, but I don't know you, okay? So to them to see my face in public and know that even though I'm a foreigner and I might butcher their language, I'm trying to speak their language and trying to acclimate to their culture. Once I gain a friendship with them, then I can work on a relationship with them. And they're going to see my faith lived out. They're going to invite me to tea. They're going to come to my house. Something's going to happen. And they're going to say, something different about you. You're weird. And I said, well, other than being weird, I've got something else. I share Jesus Christ with them. It's a necessary thing, okay? So to learn their language, Brother Sonny said there's no clock in here. Is it before noon? All right. I would tell you, Dobreho ranku. That's good morning. Dobreho ranku. Roll the R's. The language is I'm learning to speak it. Coretta's learning to read it and write it. Okay? That'll work well there. Okay? All right. Next one, brother. This tells you a little about the couple that we're going to work with. We're not going over as missionary helpers. We're going to partner with them in the work they have in Zhytomyr, Ukraine. Help them, and then they're going to help us. We're going to move over. Someone asked, how long are you going to visit? We're not visiting. We're moving. Okay? We've been over twice this time. We're going over to stay. We'll stay at least 2 years, maybe 3. We'll come back for a short furlough and go back again. So we're going to work the first couple of years to help them, and then they're going to help us. And then as the Lord leads our heart, we may go back and plan a mission work in the area or in another area close to them. They've been working there for almost 9 years now. They're from Pasadena, Texas. They've got a small congregation there. It runs anywhere from 10 to low mid-20s. Meets in their home, second story of a 3-story duplex. Okay, very, very good people. They have Bible clubs going on, English clubs going on, ladies' Bible clubs. Deborah's got a ladies' Bible study, and Brother Sonny, it's exciting because she's had 17 the other day, and over half of them go to church somewhere else, some other kind of religion. But they're coming for her Bible study, okay? And so prayerful that they're from somewhere else, but as you study God's Word and you see this is what God's Word teaches, and it doesn't meet with what I've been raised with, then you're going to ask questions, okay? So it's opportunities. It's all about opportunities to build relationships with these people, okay? 3 things I want you to see here. The name of the congregation is Pearl Missionary Baptist and Bible and English Clubs. Ukrainians want to be like us. They want ties to the West. The most reachable people group over there right now is preteen to early 20s. They're most open to the West. They're most open to hearing about God's Word, and their families, their parents are open to letting them experiment and try some new things. So that's the group that is they're more open to hear what we have to say. That's not all of them, okay, youngers and older. But they'll have some English clubs. Ukrainians, a lot of young people over there can speak English, okay? I don't know about the group that come over. Several of them could carry on a conversation in English with you. They learn it in school systems, and if you can teach them English, that's a doorway as well. Okay, the Bostics they have some English clubs for adults. They have some English clubs for children. Coretta and I are trying to work on a certification online to teach English as a second language when we get in Ukraine. They possibly may plug her into an alternative school to teach English as a native speaker. And you say, well, that's good, but what's the key there? Relationship with students, relationships with parents, relationships with staff, okay? It's all about relationships again, okay? So that's one thing we're going to be working on. You see all these little ones here. This lady here, I want you to pray for her. Her name is Alona. She is the translator for the Bostics. They speak Russian and English, but she translates when he speaks, when he teaches, when they talk about spiritual matters. She's a liaison for them. She was saved in 2008. She was baptized when we were over there in July, and I'll tell you about the rest of that story. It's very exciting, okay? And that's her grandmother there, Tatiana. She speaks nothing but Russian, but she loves Americans, okay? A few shots from the city of Zhytomyr where we're going to be working. That rock there is a monument in the middle of the city. It says 884 on it. That's the first recorded date that there was a settlement here. That's pre-1000. Verbal history will tell you that it was there before that, but that's the first recorded. That's really old, okay? During Hitler's time, there was a large concentration of Jews in Zhytomyr. Some have said that some of Hitler's experimental doctors were planning on doing some things there. It did come to fruition. The three Jewish synagogues there now, small population of Jews that are there. Okay, these are some shots from around the city. This one up here is the market. I told you most people buy in the markets in this city. In the center of the city, there's a huge market there, a huge cold room that is there. You can buy pork chop as Lincoln yesterday. Bread that was baked this morning. Most people are going to buy that. Okay, and most people shop there. This down here, though, the grandmothers, they call them babushka. Babushka. That you might have heard that in Russian. Some very similar. They take care of their elderly, at least in this area they do. In every market, there is a place for the elderly and the poor to sell something they have. Ukrainians, even in Zhytomyr at least, even in the city, people are going to grow something. They're going to grow a garden. They're going to grow fruit trees. It's not uncommon to walk down. By the way, that's a residential street. It's not an alley. Okay, that's the actual street for the Bostick's house. People have chickens in their yard, fruit trees. If they can grow something to feed their family, they're going to grow it. Okay, so the elderly, there's a place for them to sell something in the market all the time. This is the main square in the city. Their major streets are paved and blacktop. Okay, their infrastructure is improving, but the water might go off at 10 this morning, might not go back till 10 tonight. Okay, the Bostick said here a few weeks back the electricity would come on during the evening, and be off on the day for 3 days straight. Okay, but their infrastructure is improving. Okay, it's considered a third world country, but some things are as good as ours, and some of them are third world country. Okay, that's a typical house in Ukraine. The Bosticks live in a better house than that. Their landlord built it. He lives in half. They live in half. But that's an average of what a Ukrainian house would look like. Okay. All right, next one. This is the hardest one for me to talk about. So many stories here. The first time we went over a year ago in October, spent 2 weeks. I preached both Sundays. I preached one Sunday at their church service. The next weekend, they did a 3-day outreach, and they rented a hotel in the edge of the forest, about 45 minutes from the city. I preached that Sunday, and 2 teenage boys were saved that week. They asked us, will you come back in July? We prayed about it. We said, yeah. But in the meantime, we surrendered to move. But we went anyway in July. We spent a whole week. Again, at this camp, we had camp for a whole week. 41 people came. 5 of them were little ones. 10 were adults, part of them Americans, part of them were Ukrainians. The rest of them were 13 to 21. Every morning we had morning devotion and exercises. They came out of the hotel and they were trying to prop their eyes open, wear their pajamas, and Had a morning devotion. Brother Ken Sibley he did allusions to share God's word in the devotion. We had all our meals together. We had Bible classes, and I got to preach every night. During that week, 2 teenagers came forward, so they were saved in a Bible club in the Bostick's home the week before. 4 more teenagers were saved that week. 2 teenage boys that were saved the October before came from baptism. One adult lady was saved. This little girl, her name is Vitalina. She and her family and her uncle and his family, they moved from eastern Ukraine a couple years ago because of all the unrest that was going on. They moved to the area. Her folks were photographers by trade. This little girl, she started coming to the Bostick's for English Club, Children's English Club. They would open their walk-through gate a certain time of the day, and neighborhood kids knew that was a sign they come in. Miss Deborah would give them a cookie, something to drink, teach them English and some Bible. This little girl's mom came to camp that week to take photographs for us. Her mama was saved that week. Awesome. A translator during the week. She's been saved in 2008. Her husband wouldn't let her join the congregation. Wouldn't let him bring the little boy. She was so under conviction, she told Brother David, she said, I need to get baptized and join the congregation. She said, I need to. She called her husband and she said, if I get baptized, will you come? And he said, I won't take part in your shame on our family. And baptized her at midnight. She came around and gave us all personal invitations. She came to the house, to our quarters, and she said, you're going to baptize me at midnight. I want you to come. The members of the congregation and the Americans were there for her to be baptized. She said, why at midnight? The 2 boys were baptized in a day. There were people at camp that knew her family, and she didn't want to get back to her family before she was ready to tell her family. Okay? That's a super step. We don't have anything really substantial holding us up from making public commitments to the Lord. But these people are doing it knowing that there could be complications. Her husband said, I don't want anything to do with it. He didn't say she couldn't. He just said, I don't want anything to do with it. During this week, about the 3rd day in, I was in the restaurant Sunday, and I was drinking coffee. A little girl about 13, she comes over and she said, Mr. Tony, you need to come to the pool right now. And I said, there's lots of adults down there. They don't need me down there. No, you need to come right now. So I gathered all my things, and I headed that way, and I got about from here to the front door, and I knew exactly what was going on. I wear hearing aids. I took my hearing aids out, my wallet, and my shoes off, and the boys grabbed me and threw me in the pool. 4 or 5 of these boys are toting me, and I said, if you're going to throw me in the deep end. I don't want to break anything. And they begged me, said, please come and swim with us tonight. Somebody said, well, that's funny. That's a good story. What is that? I was accepted. Some of them I already had a relationship with. Some of them it's the first time they ever met me. A few of them, their families are upper middle class, and I talk to them on Facebook some. Build a relationship from all the way across the other side of the world. On Saturday, we had to prepare to leave at 2:30 in the morning because we have a 3-hour trip back to Kyiv to catch our flight back to the States. By the way, if you want to come, it's a process. It'll probably take you about 16 hours to get to where we're going to be. Okay. By the time you fly from here to Atlanta or Seattle or somewhere like that, and fly to somewhere in Germany, and then fly to Kyiv, and then get to Zhytomyr, about 16 hours. Okay. 2:30 in the morning, the adults came and helped us load our things in the back of the van, and we turned around. This whole group came out of the hotel 2:30 in the morning. The mass hugged us and said, please come back. I said, I'm leaving my heart here. You take care of it because I'm coming back for it. You know, you'll go places and you say, I left part of my heart here, and I left it all there this time. That's where we want to be. Some of these young people, they still come to church. The Bosticks had a Valentine's party the other day. Had 38 young people crammed into that second-story room there, 38. Some of them had never been there. You know, I prayed this whole process. I said, Lord, at the very beginning, I said, why in the world would you just want some old blue-collar knothead like me to go over the other side of the world? I don't know their language. I don't know their customs. And I really don't want to leave where I'm at. You know, I go to my favorite fishing and hunting spots. My dog sleeps in my lap. And, you know. But I said, you know, if that's where you want me to go, that's where I'll go. And then he began to answer questions. Okay? The Lord is blessing tremendously in this process. Okay? The end of the last slide. Some things for you to pray with us about. By the way, the good-looking part's right here. Okay? I say that because she's been by my side for 37 years. She's gone everywhere I thought the Lord wanted me to go. Some places she said, I really don't want to go there, but if that's where you think the Lord wants you to go, then that's where we'll go. The thing with this, though, the first time we went over, a year ago in October, we got ready to leave. She said, I could just stay. I said, I want to go home. When I called her end of last spring, I called her. She's working in the schools. I said, honey, I told the Lord I'll go. She said, okay. Just real nonchalant. We got 4 kids and 7 grandkids. And she said, okay. I said, is that all you've got? Just okay? And she said, I prayed the Lord pacify my heart till you knew what the Lord wanted for us. Got a heart of bush if you can't tell. Okay? Some things we need for you to pray with us about. I pray with us. First thing I ask for is your prayers. Without your prayers, none of the rest of us any good. Okay? Thank you for letting us come, spend some time with you and share our passion. Thank you for loving on us, feeding us good food, showing us around. Y'all been good to us, very, very good to us. To learn the language and the custom and the culture, there are some really weird customs. Don't talk to somebody through a doorway. You don't waste anything. You cook 3 hot dogs in the fire and you don't want to eat the last bite of the last one. You throw it in the fire. No, not happening there. Okay. Preaching and teaching. You see something here, training national pastors. I'll tell people I'm not going to Ukraine to pastor a Ukrainian church. That's not in the plan. We're going to follow a Pauline cycle. If you look in how Paul did things, it's vital when a foreign missionary goes to a foreign country. The Lord intends for a national to pastor those congregations. A national is going to be able to lead those people much better than a foreigner is going to. They can accept me, they can follow my leadership, and they can love me to death, but it'll never be as good as one of them doing it. Okay? So as the Lord raises up Ukrainian men to lead congregations, we're going to train them. And I'm excited. Brother David said, I asked him, I said, what are some of the things you think you want to, I'm going to partner with you over there? And he said, in teaching and preaching and evangelizing. And when? He didn't say if. He said, when the Lord raises up Ukrainian men as pastor, so I want you to be here to help teach them, transition them to leading those congregations. I'll lead until the Lord puts a man in there from them. Okay? And building relationships. It's all about relationships. The things to pray with us about on needs here. We've got a property in Converse, Indiana. I think the Lord's taking care of it. Well, I know He's taking care of it. We need that sold or leased or something. Appointments to share. The Lord has just blessed with that. Someone asked me, a missionary asked me, so are you having a hard time getting appointments? And I said, no, I'm having a hard time getting dates to put appointments. Okay? We plan to move to the country by the end of August or 1st of September. And the way things are going, we're going to go to one-way flight sometime in probably in June. Okay? Monthly support while we're on the field. Support on deputation. The first month we did this, we did 5 appointments and we were in the red $10. Every month since then, we've been in the black every single month. Every single month. The Lord's provided love offerings. It's going to take us about $4,500, $3,600 for personal support, minus taxes. Uncle Sam's going to get his, okay? And then some to do ministry. The Lord is blessed. We've been doing this about 7 months, and we're almost 50% of that amount. Almost 50% commitment to that amount. We have some others I've got confirmation that they're probably going to be coming on board in coming months. It's going to get there. Moving to the field is going to cost us about 10 grand. And the Lord is blessing in tremendous ways with that. And some things are in the motion that I can't put in public yet, but just let me say that that's taken care of, okay? I think that's pretty much a sealed deal, okay? And it costs us about this to move to the country. Reason being, I told you, when we move over there, we can't just bring our stuff with us. It's going to cost probably at least twice that much right there just to ship it over. So we're going to move over. We're probably about 7 or 8 suitcases. And I used to tell people, she gets a kick out of this. I used to tell people, I'm going to have 2 of them. She's going to have the rest. And she said, no, you have more shoes than I do. Okay. You see the breakdown. We were blessed last week. North City gave us a love offering to cover our paperwork. Just blew us away. Blew us away. Anybody got a couple of questions? I'll take 1 or 2. I don't know what time it is. What time is it, Sonny? Okay. Got time to preach then. All right. Good deal. Good deal. Set this over here. All right. We've got a display out in the vestibule. Got prayer cards out there. I want to give you a website. I apologize, the website's not on the card because we printed those before we changed gears on distributing our report. We put out a monthly newsletter every month. Has what we've done the month before. It has a full financial of what we received and from who and what we spent and what we spent it on. Okay. If you'd like to get that, if you will go to columbusbaptist.net, columbusbaptist.net. Brother Sonny's already got that. Maybe they can put it on the board next week or something. columbusbaptist.net. That's our sending church website. And when you go there, there'll be a banner to crop, and you can click on Ukraine missions, and it'll drop down at the bottom. You got some fields to fill in. Subscribe to our newsletter. Okay, it's pretty simple. But when it asks you how did you find out about us, just put friend. Okay, all right. If you open your Bibles to Mark chapter 1, I want to share a few things with you. Really excited about. Mark chapter 1, we're going to look at verse 16 through 20, just to kind of jump off at. The thoughts for this are becoming fishers of men. Becoming fishers of men.